Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm Megan DiMartino, and this is the third day. The third day. Yay! You've made it to the third day of the 5-day Propel Challenge, where we're going over the 5 C's to starting, scaling, and sustaining the business and life of your dreams. I call it the Propel Activation Program, and this program will help you wherever you are in your goals, dreams, and aspirations. If you're starting a business from scratch, if you are pivoting and evolving a business, or actually have been in a business and want to take it to another place, this program is for you. I designed this 5-day challenge to give you little nuggets of the Propel program. The Propel program has 2 modules, the Start module and the Sustain module. And the Start module and Sustain have 5 videos and 5 workbooks. And these basically are interactive program, because after the 5 C's, after you do the clarity, courage, confidence, commitment, and compassion, then we do a mastermind. We come together. We do a Zoom together, whomever is in the Propel program. And then you go on to the then Scale module, where then those videos and those workbooks, and I work with you each week as you go through those, meeting vis-a-vis emails and communication. And then after those 5 weeks, we then come together again and study your progress, where you are, and then go into the Sustain portion, which is a bi-monthly mastermind. So it's really an interactive, great program to help you monitor your growth. But you have to have clarity before you begin. You have to build that courage muscle to go and gain confidence. So today we're going to be speaking about confidence. And confidence is the absence of fear. You say, well, Megan, that might be easy for you. Why would you say that's the absence of fear? Meaning it's building that courage muscle, knowing that you can do this, that you can do this, that you can step out. You have that dream, goal, that aspiration. You've listened to that still, quiet, small voice for years, and you finally said, this is it. This is what I want to focus on. And that's that clarity step. And then you go and build that muscle, because just by saying you want to do it doesn't mean that you will do it. It's about taking action, but it's that action that you will not stop. So in that not stopping, you're building that muscle of courage, because no matter what, if you've decided to do something, I will help you through this process, because it is a process. Life is a process. It's not just one and done. It is a process. You've got to own that, because otherwise you fall into these pitfalls of fear, of doubt, lesser than, that always looking for, that stamp of approval from someone, whomever that is. It could be your father, your husband, your wife, your mother, a girlfriend, a guy friend, a husband, whatever. Meaning that you have to come to a place that no matter what, no approval addiction will stop you from taking that step and keeping on that road. Because it is that journey. It's not just a sprint. It's a journey of staying on that focused road. So really, confidence is building that courage muscle. And courage is the absence of fear. Fear will, as I said yesterday in the courage section of the challenge, that fear is an emotion. Now we're spirits, and we're mind, will, and emotion. And so I mentioned yesterday, one of the best books that I have at my night table, look at the 10 scrolls every day, but one of them is to persist until you succeed. And you must then also just know that fear is going to be eradicated by continuing on with that persistence. You will build that courage muscle, and then you go on to building that. It doesn't mean that you never have roadblocks. It doesn't mean you won't have challenges. Au contraire, you will. And you'll be tested all the time. But it's about having someone with you. It's about having that mentor with you who's been through these things and that can help you identify too that reality. So confidence is building through and building with, and it's that absence of fear. Now, one of the foundational books of mine is Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. It doesn't say wanna and grow rich. It doesn't say go to a conference and grow rich. It doesn't say read, many books and go rich. It says think and grow rich. Whatever the mind of man can believe, it can achieve. So you must see it, believe it, and take action. I'm speaking about this in the clarity section on Monday. It's about seeing it. You truly have to see it. I never forgot going to see the Sherlock Holmes movie, and there were two with Robert Downey Jr. and and his sidekick Watson there. And the second one, though, I was like, wow. There was a sequence in that movie where Sherlock Holmes, as he always was, in a pickle, and he was at this mansion in a far, far away place up in the mountains, so it was not accessible, and it was high up on a cliff. And whomever invited him to come to this were bad guys, and they had a plan to not only thwart his plan but to kill him. And so, but it was a black tie event, and he was all dressed up, and Watson was there as well. But it's a long time ago when I saw this, but I'll share what was so poignant to me with what we're speaking about, is that he was lured onto the patio, and someone threw him over the railing. And so what you saw was him rolling, and then you didn't see him, and you just assumed that he died. You just assumed that. But the scene before the gala that he and Watson went to, he had this big map in his office, and he went to that map all the time. And he was, a genius, but he was a visualizer. He saw things. And so on this map, he had threads with pins holding these threads, and he would continue to change the direction of the thread to the goals, his dreams, his aspirations. And there was something about what was going to happen at that mansion up on the cliff that he went to his study, his office, and he moved a thread, and he saw, now you can call this prayer. I do, meaning communicating with God, the wisdom of God going within. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness, and all things will be given unto you. So, but you have to seek it, you have to ask, you have to seek, you have to knock. So he was putting his visualization, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, he can achieve. That's the actual quote. But whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, so it's that thinking and believing and taking action, he can achieve. So he was moving that and seeing that. So the next scene, after he was presumed dead, you see Watson in Sherlock Holmes' home and / his study, and all of a sudden he walks in. So I have no idea from point A to B how that happened. Didn't show that, but he saw it. He knew that they were up to no good, that was not for his blessing, and that he was going. There was something about that which I don't remember. But again, he did not die. So that's what I also want to share with you. You are not going to die. You're not going to die when you take that step and you have a pitfall. You have a challenge. I shared a few this week on the clarity. I was out in Castell, Texas. I didn't plan on being in Castell, Texas Sunday night, preparing for you on Monday. But my car had a major meltdown. I mean, a major meltdown. But what the poignancy of this for this confidence section is that I was just driving out to the country to have a nice lunch with some friends at this ranch. They were there for a retreat. There was some specific thing about it, but I was really going to visit a friend who flew in from New Jersey and was going to this retreat. So I was driving 100 miles out of Austin to the hill country to visit with this friend and meet her friends. I was looking forward to that. But on the way, my air conditioner stopped working. Well, I could have turned around right then and there and said to my friend, this isn't working. My car is not in good shape. I don't know what's going on. But I knew as I knew, sort of like Sherlock Holmes, that I knew that if I turned around, it would be worse than if I continued on. So I continued on the drive, and then probably another 40 miles maybe, the screen of the car started going berserk, saying, stop, pull over, overheating. It's a fairly new car. Overheating, the brake light was going crazy, the power steering light was going crazy. I kept testing the brakes as I was driving, but by this point, I was in the country, no man's land, 2-lane road, no Wi-Fi, by the way. It stopped somewhere in mile 30. And I then, but continued on. But I would test the brakes, the power steering was working. I kept going. Had the windows open because there was no air conditioner, but I continued on. I got to closer, I wasn't 100% sure where I was at all, but because I just kept driving and I couldn't really tell the mileage on that point, at that point, but I knew I was getting closer. So all of a sudden I was maybe 10 miles from my destination and the power steering went out. And then, oh my goodness, so I'm holding on to the wheel. I get to maybe 5 more miles and I see this sign saying Castell General Store 5 miles ahead. So like in my inner voice, in my inner spirit, I just said, Lord, help me. And I was praying all the way. But I knew as I knew, guys, I knew as I knew that I needed to keep going. That stopping, oh no, 110 degrees, no one around, no cars passing, wasn't an option. I had to keep going. But I also knew 40, 50 miles, maybe 80 actually by that point, back where there was civilization, that wasn't the option because this would have happened. But I would have been 40 miles the other direction in kind of a no man's land, but at least my friend was near. And so I got to the general store and there was a parking lot to the left and I could move the wheel. It was very difficult, but I could move the wheel, got into the parking lot, coasted over to a safe spot for this car, and the engine stopped. Engine stopped. So yesterday, then I slept over. Obviously, I did my clarity section with you from the ranch. But on Monday night, finally got a tow truck to come out to Castell, Texas, tow it back, and took it to the dealer. Yesterday, which was Tuesday, I heard from the dealership after I finished my courage section with you, and they shared that it was the compressor that went out and it, took down the air conditioner and shredded the belt. Now, I don't know much about cars, but the tow truck driver, which I rode in his cab on Monday night, back an hour and a half to, where I live, and then he took on the car onto the dealer. He said to me, the belt is the thread through it all, i.e. that clarity, courage, confidence, commitment, and compassion. When the belt breaks, everything just stops. And that's what happened because then yesterday, oh my gosh, they shared what I just told you, but on Monday night, meaning from the compressor to the air conditioner to the shredded the belt. When we got to the parking lot in my area where I live, and my friend was picking me up to take me home, he said to me, "Oh my gosh, Megan, come and look." And that belt was hanging from the engine. You could see it lying there on the flatbed. So if I had stopped, I don't even want to conjecture what might have happened. If I had turned around, I would have been in worse position than I was. So it is that knowingness, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, he can achieve. So I want you to take that understanding that no matter where you are, as I said, you might be starting a new business. You might have been a stay-at-home mom saying, but you were working in a career job before you had your children. Now it's time to begin, but you say, gosh, it's been 10 years, 15 years, whatever. And, am I current? Do I have the goods? Do I have the ability to go back? You may not go back in exactly what you did before, because I'm sure that over this time of being that CEO of your home, that you gleaned information that helped you evolve past maybe what you even were doing. I have a very dear friend who's an attorney. She's still an attorney. She has her license, but she came to a point in her career that I guess it was 2007-08, in that recession time, that she was doing more bankruptcies than she was doing anything else. And she recognized that there was a piece to this, the bankruptcy piece, that she saw that it was this area of this inner knowing, this inner confidence, this inner courage that stopped people in their tracks and did not enable them to continue on and work through whatever was going on. They, in a sense, just gave up. They just said, that's it. I'm just going to file bankruptcy and move on. And I'm sure at some point in people's businesses and lives, that's something that is an alternative. It's an option. But it doesn't necessarily have to be what you do. So she has left practicing daily law, using many of the principles to help people, but she's now a mindset coach. Beliefs that are holding you back, or those inner demons that are holding you back, that are from prosperity, from abundance, from living an abundant life. Abundance is, and the longer I live and the longer I work in my field of favor, so to speak, and we'll go there, that's that wisdom, Solomon working in that field of favor. Wisdom does not expire. Wisdom does not change. It is forever. But you have to seek it. You have to work with it. It is that muscle again. If wisdom is within and you bring it forth. And so the longer I live, I see very clearly, and that's why this program is called Propel Your Business and Life Activation Program, because it is about that synergy of your life and your business, because your business and business is commerce. Business is doing, that what you do for income, so to speak, your business. And so that your life needs to marry that, complement that, enhance that, work with that. One is not exclusive of the other, because, I have a great life, but I hate my business. Well, that is not going to work, because your business is part of this. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing the Propel program? Why am I doing this 5-day challenge? And I will continue doing this along with my other Propel pieces to work with you, which are no charge, as this is. This also does have a VIP component, but we'll talk about that later. But I do the Propel Daily, which is a texting to you every morning with a little nugget of inspiration and encouragement. Then on Breakfast with Champions in the audio app Clubhouse, I do a segment on Tuesdays, which was yesterday. So right after this, I went to BWC, Breakfast with Champions, and interviewed my guest for the week, so to speak, and I'll tell you, for the week, Ashley Branstetter. And we talked about courage. We continued on that yesterday's seed. But Ashley will be back on Thursday night, and we'll continue that interview to some degree, but also invite you guys into StreamYard, where you can interact with Ashley and I, and that's called the Propel Deep Dive. And so you're gleaning all this information to build that clarity, that the courage that will lead to confidence. But confidence is the absence of fear. Meaning, and I'm just going to go back to this road trip, that I was not quaking in my boots. I was not crying. I was not fretting. I was praising and worshiping. Now that doesn't necessarily, I had no radio, I had nothing, because the screen went out. That happened with the air conditioner later on. But I was praying, I was speaking to God. Prayer is just conversation with God. To that, God is, as the Lord's Prayer says, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. There are many names of God. Jehovah Jireh, my provider, Jehovah Rapha, my healer, meaning that there are many names of God. And so I was just praying, Father, guide me, protect me, traveling angels around me, get me to Castell, Texas. I knew if I got there, I didn't know that there was a general store, I really didn't, but I knew if I got close enough, somehow, I didn't know there was a general store. I mean, that was like, hallelujah, when I saw the general store, because you know what that represented? Wi-Fi. I knew that I could walk in there and get Wi-Fi on my own phone, but also use someone else's phone to call Tony, because my phone had a charge. I couldn't get Wi-Fi. So I was praying and seeking that protection, that guidance, that understanding that, and so I wasn't driving in a panic or a fear. I knew God would work it through. So seek ye first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness, and all things will be given unto you. And so it is a process, though. As I said, with this whole 5-day challenge, trust in the process. Trust it. Give me 5 days. Give me these days to join me, to listen to these points. And at the end of each day, as you see, I give you a little assignment and then a little nugget for tomorrow. And tomorrow will be commitment. Okay? And each day builds upon itself. So give me these 5 days, give me this process, and trust in this process. And then join me for these other Propel pieces that will help you build your clarity, courage, confidence, commitment, and compassion. But this piece, the confidence piece, is focus. So we have clarity, we know what we want to do, we're building that courage, and then now is that confidence to take that step. But it's really focus, and what really, truly disables people, truly stops them in their tracks, is that, and we've spoken about this every day, but, and the but is that all of this is not exclusive of each other. This is a synergistic understanding, meaning clarity, courage, confidence, commitment, and compassion. And what stops people in their track is lack of focus. Now, they've built that courage, they're ready to roll, they're ready to take that step, they want to take that next step. They have built that courage, they feel confident in this step, they've done a lot of homework, they've done, they've set up their trade name and their LLC and working with somebody, or did it themselves, a landing page, and they're getting going. They're trying to not listen to the naysayers, oh, this is crazy, oh, you have this, you have that going on, do you have the time, do you have the experience, all of those naysayer points. But then what happens is they lose focus. They lose focus. Focus is, as I said before with Napoleon Hill, that is the foundational scripture slash word today, is whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, he can achieve. So it really is that single-mindedness. You have to stay in your field of favor. If I said, for instance, I've been in this spa space, the skincare space, but the business space for 40 years, probably longer, but myself personally with my own business, 35 years. But if I then said, well, I know business, I can start any kind of business, and on some level, probably that's true. But my field of favor is not accounting, and it is not electronics, IT. It is not. Over the years, I have had to depend on, hire, work with those two areas, accounting, business individuals, and I have built a good team of people that know what they're doing, and I trust. I trust them. I've had my same accountant since 2014, so almost 10 years. So, and it might have been 13, so it could be 10 years, but it was in that area. Before that, I had someone else that I had for many years, and that person moved. I've had the same team of graphic designers. You look behind me in this banner, and this banner was designed by me, but with the expertise of Elizabeth Hauser, her chirpy graphics. I'm on here today with you, and you signed up through the landing page that was designed with my content and utilizing from a graphic position with Elizabeth Hauser, but then over to Angeline Moore and our Kingdom Sparkle agency. Now, those are a lot of steps, but I knew that those are not my field of favor. And quite frankly, guys, and this is fact, and this is not being vulnerable, it's just factual, is that I did the program, the Propel activation program for your business and life activation program in 21. I did, I finished it in the latter part of 21. I did a master class on December 27th, 2021, but I didn't have the Angeline Moore. I had the Elizabeth, but I didn't have the Angeline Moore piece. I have tried over the years, now this is an important piece, I have tried over the years to locate an Angeline Moore, and there are people like her out there, but more than not, today, in 2021, 22, 23, there are companies that were started that do some of this, but they're expensive, and I'm not saying she's free, but what I'm saying is you don't deal with a person. It's a company, it's a corporation, and it's automated. And I don't work well with automated because I need that hand holding. Today, in the morning, she texted me and said that she was going to be speaking on Breakfast with Champions at 9 o'clock. Well, guess what? East Coast. So guess what? That's when I'm starting, 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern. But she is so capable that she can have in her office a plug into me and us doing this and be doing what she's doing as well. And then at the end of this, she will be coming in. So I was confident that she was able to do that. She has shown me many times that she's able to do that. So in so many ways. So I know as I know that I'm going to surround myself. But I didn't say, let's say back in 20, when I started podcasting, that, and I started my Unique Leaders podcast in Marchish of 20. Now, did I say that I was going to come on live like this, and this before I knew StreamYard existed, and that's how I found StreamYard. But anyhow, meaning because I wanted to interview people. But I said, did I say to myself, oh, I'm going to do this. I don't need Elizabeth. I don't. No. Elizabeth did the intro, the outro. Then we streamed it into YouTube. It was live on Facebook. And then we decided to do recordings and then post it on Fridays. So it was every Friday at 4. So we're very consistent, but we worked together, and then she put it in a lot, cleaned it up and sent it to the studio guy, and he then set it up into the audio piece and then put it on all of the podcasting platforms. So I didn't do it myself, but I sought out, Elizabeth didn't know how to do podcasting, but I sought out people that would guide me to how to do that. So I stayed in my field of favor, which is helping you identify your dreams, goals, and desires and help you actualize them. And through the unique leaders, why did I do that in 20? Well, we were in a lockdown initially, but then I was interviewing really very, very cool people, very knowledgeable people in their fields, fun people that you would glean from. And when you go over to YouTube and, find this, we did it for 2 years. And I put a pause on it. Not because I wasn't going to go back to podcasting, but because I was then starting my new brick and mortar. And I knew that I know me, and I know my field of favor, and I knew what I was heading into. And I knew that I needed to basically focus on what I needed to do to set that foundation for that properly. Never taking my mind, by the way, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe he can achieve. Never taking off my mind, think and grow rich. Never taking off that I wasn't going to launch the Propel program. But that's why I do the scale module, because that's basically scaling it. And that's really branding and marketing. That's those tools, which I've done for 50 years, for 2 corporations in the 80s, and then my own business launching in 92. So, and then before that, a few other things, but I'll share that tomorrow with commitment. But I basically have stayed in this field of favor, never taking my mind off of launching this, but knowing I had to brand it. That means to bring it to market, to have you even know it exists. To knock on my door and say, hey, I hear you have this Propel program. Now, people locally have bought it and are working with it, and I'm mentoring some folks. But the point is that to take it out to the world, I needed to brand it. So you need to stay in your field of favor. You need to stay in your area of expertise. You need to focus and then find people that will help you. And that is also part of what I do with the Propel program, is to guide you to people that can assist you. Because those are my 2 personal people, but there are many ancillary people that I work with, which I'm not going to babble off on here. But the point of this is that I can help you gain clarity, start, scale, and sustain through these 5 C's: clarity, courage, confidence, commitment, and compassion, with this program, with this 10-week program, and then go but continue on with the sustain piece, which is a mastermind. So we can work together. We can attain these things together. There are so many tools that I can assist you with, but you have to stay focused. Focus is, with the absence of focus, if you think about a camera, now this is a phone that I'm doing this on, but if I had, and I'm hesitating because back in the day, those big Hasselblad and big cameras that had those big focus things, and they focus in and focus out. On this, you can make it smaller and larger, of course, and you have to clean your lens off so it doesn't get fuzzy and all of those things. But with focus, it helps you continue in that field of favor, trusting, believing, taking action, then with action. And one of the reasons why I didn't totally melt down as I said, and I wasn't going to, but the reason I didn't is I've been through other things. Hello, over these years. I've been a single mother. I have brought up my daughters by myself. I have been alone for all of their formative years. They say, teach them to fish and they'll eat forever. They both have worked for me, with me. I've helped them build their muscle of clarity. They both do different things. They're both different people, but they both are very accomplished people in their own right of what they're doing, because they've gained that clarity, that courage, that confidence, that commitment, and that compassion for themselves. Compassion for yourself is a big subject, and we will do that on Friday. But the point is that that's an ongoing seed, as they all are. But they all, again, dovetail to each other, because courage and confidence really help you with that compassion. But we'll go there Friday. But you stay in that focus. You focus that lens. You focus into what you want to do, to know what you want to do. I mentioned I was a single parent. I was single for, I don't know, 30 some odd, 40 years, probably closer to 40. And I moved down here to the Austin area. And really the essence of why I moved here from Fort Worth was because of family, but that's a whole other story. But I also knew that if I moved down here, I would start the medical spa training center that I had planned on doing in Fort Worth. So I would also say that the superficial reason was for family, but God had a different plan. Jeremiah 29:11 had a different plan, that instead of doing this in Fort Worth, I was going to build the rest of my, not necessarily the rest of my life, but certainly the next 20, 25 years here in the Austin market, and start my my traditional luxury day spa initially, and then evolve it to a medical spa over the years. So I never, by the way, and I shared this in Clarity certainly, but I started my first skincare brand in 92, built it, sold it, and then started my second brand in 97, Novitas Spa Clinical Products. Still have those, as well as the trade name. I own it. It's a federally trademarked name. And then the URL on the novitasspa.com. We have our shopping cart for the Novitas Spa Clinical Products. So I had a luxury day medical wellness spa, sold a portion of that in 20, never stopped doing the regenerative stem cell, but knew I needed another brick and mortar. That's what I was sharing earlier, that I was opening a new brick and mortar. So that was the fall, excuse me, of last year when I opened. I found it in the spring, cleaned it up, opened it in the fall of last year. Novitas Beauty and Regenerative Wellness. Long, short of very, very long. But when I came to this area, I didn't know a soul, not a soul. And what did I do? I found a location that had a facial room that I could go to rent and start my business, but most importantly, meet people and brand myself. People buy from people they know, like, and trust, and that you give them value. And that value is all important. We will talk about that again tomorrow in the commitment piece. But I took a room. I didn't even live here at first. And I took a room in a lovely hair salon here and started branding Novitas Spa at Rachel & Company. But met her clients and started building my brand through that, started advertising. And then the following year went up to the historic Georgetown Square and took my, they put my flag in the ground and planted it here in Georgetown, Texas, and started Novitas Spa on the Square, and then evolved it in 2012 to the Novitas Spa Medical Rejuvenation Clinic. Okay? But during that season in 2006, I met Paul Tyler. And Paul Tyler was just a charming, lovely, handsome man that loved God. I met him at church. I met him at Celebration Church. And we started hanging out, as I called it. And he was retired, but he was an engineer, but his specialty was lubricants. So he knew a lot about chemistry, far more than I. So he loved going up to my my manufacturer up in Dallas. So we started hanging out, as I said, and he was just delightful to be with. And so over a year and a half, so forth, he said to me, let's get married. Married? I don't want to get married. And so why would I want to get married? You know, I had been single for 30 plus years. But I knew in my quiet prayer time, in that listening to that still, quiet, small voice, that it was what I was supposed to do. And he and I, Paul, Matthew, Tyler, and I married December 9th, my grandmother's birthday, my Italian grandmother. We married December 9th, 2006. And then in 2009, he had a small stroke, December 2009, almost to our anniversary. And it threw him in a condition called Lewy body syndrome, which is a Parkinson's form of dementia. And so here I had this business, I had these employees. By this point, we were coming out of the recession, the business was growing. I had individuals that had worked with me from the beginning when I launched it in 2005 up on the Georgetown Square. It was evolving. It was time to add the medical component. I knew that as soon as the marketplace stabilized. And then this happened. So I was thrown into this tsunami of unknown, this tsunami of tremendous challenge. And I knew as I knew, though, guys, that I had not only the clarity and not only the courage and not only the confidence, but I had the trust in the Lord. With all my heart, I leaned on him, not on my own understanding. During that season, I actually put on the keypad in the back door where the staff came in, I put Proverbs 3:5-6. It was 3056 on the keypad. Well, don't have that building anymore, so keypad isn't even there. So the point is that every day I was able to put that in as I walked in there, putting my full armor of God on, knowing that I had that confidence, that God was in control, that God was guiding me. And to then make a very long story short, Paul passed away September 29th, 2011, at our home. He did go into nursing home care for a bit because I just could not care for him properly. But I vowed to myself that when he stopped walking, he would come home. And he did in June of 11. And he was with hospice, brought in the bed and all of that stuff, hired the same CNAs that I had used for my mother-in-law. It's a whole other story. And but he passed going into the dawn of the day, September 29th. It was dark outside, and he just loved life. He loved me. He did not want to go, but his body was so broken down and so ready to pass. And so I just started playing Mercy Me's I Can Only Imagine again and again and again, and just continued to talk to Paul and just share with him, Paul, I am good. I am good. I have you in my heart. You will be in my heart forever. Here I'm talking about him, okay? And I said, Paul, just let go. Jesus is waiting for you. God is waiting for you. Just go. And slowly, his body, I could feel his body releasing, his spirit releasing. And somewhere around 3, 4 in the morning, his spirit released. And I went into the kitchen and made a cup of tea. And as I was in the kitchen just praying, the day was dawning, and the backyard was full, not a couple, but full of white butterflies. And I was like, oh my goodness, Father, Paul truly deserves this grand entrance into heaven. What a wonderful man. Just an honor to know him, but also to be his wife. He deserves this. Everyone he touched loved him. Everyone knew him, loved him. was a great asset to my life and to my business and to me personally. He endorsed me. He got me. Most men didn't, because they didn't understand my passion, my commitment, and my purpose, which is you. But he did. He understood it and he encouraged it. And so I saw these white butterflies and I said, Father, he absolutely deserves this. But I said, you're trying to tell me something. Trying to tell me something. So I walked around and I started praying, Father, guide me to tell me what you want me to get from this. What are you telling me? So I came to the kitchen table. I sat down. I put my head on the table, and I continued speaking and praying to the Lord, because again, prayer is not this. Yes, the Lord's Prayer, and I'll share that a bit, but God wants us to communicate with Him, to speak to Him, to trust Him, to lean on Him. And so I put my head on the kitchen table. It was cold, it was tile. I just felt that viscerally. I continued to talk. And as I was lifting my head, I heard, share your story. Share your story. I said, my story? What story? Tonight? Meaning he passing on to heaven? His illness? My life story? What story? What story, Lord, do you want me to share? But God doesn't answer those questions, guys. So it's listening, it's journaling, it's writing things down. So from that moment, I started journaling. I started writing down from a position of just thoughts. At first, it was just random thoughts. It could have been about that evening, about his illness, things about what that meant, how that affected me, how I gained from it, just different dynamics of it. But then in 2017, very important, 2017, now I'd started the medical component in 12 and it was growing and building. But in 2017, a woman walked into the Novitas Spa and Medical Rejuvenation Clinic that I had not seen in probably, 6, 7 years, 5 to 7, let's say. And probably 5-ish. And she had been a woman that I networked with often in some of these networking groups in Austin, women's networking groups. And she came in with someone who I did know, not well, but she had been a client at Novitas. And she said, she came for a facial with this person. So we reconnected. And in this reconnection, she shared, and God used her. And she shared with me that Sharon Lecter was coming to Austin to launch her book, Think and Grow Rich for Women. And a lot of the gals that I used to network with and see would be there. Megan, you need to go, she said to me. You need to go. You talk about lack of confidence. I just was like, not to she. But I was like, Lord, do I have the time? Should I go? Why would I go? What does it do? What is it going to help me? I have this business. I'm building this business. What's it really going to do? I was really talking myself out of it. But I knew as I knew in my spirit that I needed to go. July 4th, 2017, I went to the New Jersey and I was there for the weekend, for the July 4th weekend. And as I was flying back in a kind of a red eye, late flight, I took my tablet. Now, irony that it's called a tablet. God said to Moses, write down the 10 commandments on the tablets. But anyhow, I took my tablet out and I started writing an outline to a story. Now, over the years, I've done more trade shows and education and consulting and mentoring and that type of thing, but certainly a lot of classes and workshops. And in them, I would be speaking to either, 20 people to 200 people and be speaking about, the grace of God and so forth. But I was always speaking about hope and possibilities. Now, I would tie it back to skincare and business, but hope and possibilities, meaning with skincare can change the structure of the skin, all of that. But I would speak it. And so that became the title of the book, Hope and Possibilities. My dad would always say, I was middle child of 4, and he'd always say to us, over the horizon when my ship comes in. So that was Ray's famous, over the horizon, because he was a dreamer. He had goals. He was my first mentor. And so that was a tagline to it. Hope and possibilities just over the horizon. So that was 2017. I came back, and the event was on the 17th, July 17th, 9 and 7, you get that? And a lot of 7s here. And I was sitting the night before in the spa, in the reception, in the beautiful boutique. Everyone had gone, candles were still flickering, and I just knew in my spirit that I had to go. I had to go. Had to. It's almost like I couldn't breathe. And so I took out my card and I went online and I paid for the event, which started at 9 o'clock the next morning, and it was not that close. So I got up very early and drove there. And I walked in, and this one woman who I had not seen in a very long time, but I did things with her. And she was the co-hostess of this event. And I walked in and she said to me, why are you here? Now, I didn't take it as a slight. I did not. She meant, after all these years, why are you here? I'm so glad to see you, but why? And she took me by the hand and she sat me down and all that. She made me feel very welcome. But I knew as I knew, and I said to her, my answer, and I thought to myself, I need to be here. That was my answer to her. We sat at lunch together. We then reconnected. And that was in 2017. Still didn't write the book. At that time, the outline was done. And in 19, it just again became so strong that I needed to do this, that I took that outline out. And it wasn't until the Lord put in my spirit this subheading to it, which is, it's never too early or too late to create the life of your dreams. So I shared that piece of my life of starting, scaling, sustaining the Novitas Spa Medical Rejuvenation, or the Novitas Spa, Rachel and Company, to On the Square, to Novitas Medical Rejuvenation Clinic, to then start, selling a piece of it. I didn't share that, but in 20, someone approached me during the lockdown, would I like to sell my business? I didn't sell the trade name. I didn't sell the URL. I didn't sell the product line. I didn't sell the relationship with the company that I do the regenerative stem cell with. So I did not. So I have that business, but I didn't have the brick and mortar. We were using someone else's clinic. And that worked okay for a while, but if I was going to continue, I needed a brick and mortar. But I will share this tomorrow with the commitment piece as well. But it was time to do that. I shared it from another point of courage yesterday, of taking that first step of doing another brick and mortar after, releasing and letting go of that. But I knew as I knew, because of that still quiet, small voice saying to me in 21/22, it was time to do that. So I did that. And as I said, I'll share more about it tomorrow in the commitment piece. But what I wanted to share today about this confidence piece with this story about meeting Paul, healing my heart. I look back, ladies and gentlemen, on that aspect of marrying Paul, where I said, I'm never going to get married again. It doesn't fit into my life and my lifestyle. I don't need that. I don't want that. But what happened was that God had a different plan and knew that my heart needed to be healed and that he needed an advocate, because God knew he was going to go through this. So I don't regret it at all. Ever so short, that is my regret, but not taking that step and marrying him. And then with those experiences, because if you do not keep going and taking those steps, you will not fulfill that field of favor and that plan that God has for your life. So you need to gain clarity. You have to build that courage, that muscle. And that from that courage, through courage, you will walk in confidence. Why was I able to drive, almost 80 miles to get to safety? Because I knew in my spirit God was with me. Why was I able to, by this point in 2017, listen to that still, quiet, small voice? I could have easily missed that. And if I had missed that, I would not be here with you today. Because every person along the way, not Elizabeth Hauser, but every other person, Angeline Moore and other pieces that have impacted my life, Sharon Lecter, when I sold the asset purchase, I called her. I'd gotten to know her by this point. She's a wonderful, wonderful person. And during that season, and even today, I'm in a mastermind of her, she and her husband's. But she said to me, Megan, you're not, I said, Sharon, should I just, what should I do? I've got all this information, badoo. And she said, you're not retiring, you're refiring. So until I take my last breath, on some way, form, or function, I'm going to be helping you because that is my purpose. My passion is to create, and my purpose is you, to help you identify, but you've got to get that clarity piece. Identify your goals, your dreams, your aspirations, and take action. You have to take that first step. It's like going to, the event, July 17th, 2017. I would have aborted the plan. Now, does that mean that God would not have, with the GPS, you need to take the wrong turn and the GPS says reroute, do a U-turn? No, God could have absolutely done a U-turn. I'm not saying that from that point to this, I haven't had a reroute. What I'm saying is that I don't beat myself up with it. And that's that compassion piece. But I have gained clarity. I know my passion. I know my purpose. I know my field of favor. The kingdom of God is within us. Within us. I'm going to leave you with this today. The apostles were all different individuals. They were all different ages, sizes, shapes, backgrounds. Some were fishermen, tax collector, to on and on. They all had their own backgrounds, their own past, their own fears, their own challenges, but God knew their strengths and he chose them to work with him, so to speak, and train them up into the mission of the kingdom of God at hand, to take it to the world. And he showed them and taught them through parables and through stories. And he taught them and showed them many miracles. And like the loaves and fishes, many miracles. But that was a big one because it was so visible. Taking several loaves and several fish and having them multiply to 5,000. So very, very in your face. But you know what, guys? They came to him and said, Rabbi, teacher, show us and teach us how to pray. Teach us how to pray. Because they saw him every morning going to a quiet, remote place, praying to the Father. He never took, kudos from, things that he did. He always said, I'm doing this through my Father. Everything is through my Father. All God wants for us is to ask, to seek, to knock. He is there for us. So through him, as the Lord's Prayer said, so he did give them the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive our trespasses as we forgive those. And lead us not into temptation, and forgive us and protect us, Father. Thine will be the power and glory forever. Amen. So I want you to know, and whether you know Jesus or not, that really isn't the issue here. All these principles that we see through very fabulous people, Tony Robbins, to Jim Rohn, who I spoke about yesterday, to Zig Ziglar. One of Zig's famous quotes is, if you help enough people, you will be helped for what you want and need. Another quote that is from Eleanor Roosevelt, is that yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. God's gift to us is today. That's why it's called the present. So the present is what we have. Stay focused. Write things down. Take your health into account. There are those 7 things that Glenn Lundy talks about: your faith, your finances, your physical, your family, your career, and your life. Those are things that you focus on. And break those down into small, manageable parts, but stay focused and stay in your field of favor. Not off me to become an accountant, an attorney like Camille, an IT person like Angeline Moore. Stay in my field of focus, but work with mentors, with people that have that field of favor, that can help you attain your dreams, goals, and desires. But you have to take that first step. And the second and third step will be revealed to you. Will be. Guaranteed. Will be. But you have to take that first step. So I just want to check our time together. And it's 9 o'clock. And my dear friend has put up on, Angeline has put on the screen here the homework for you today. So go to that, download that. And those are great little tools to keep for yourself. You now have 3 days of those. Those are mini workbooks. Tomorrow we'll talk more in depth about the program, but I will see you tomorrow. I will see you tomorrow when we do that commitment. So get ready. We will commit together and be blessed.